What makes this magical drawstring bag so magical anyways? Number one, super easy. Number two, I utilize the burrito roll-up method to make sure all the seams are hidden. Number three, it's a two-in-one gift. Not only the gift you put inside, but the magical drawstring bag itself. And the tutorial starts right now. Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. With the magical drawstring gift bag that I'm going to show you how to make today, you can adapt any size gift to this gift bag. This gift bag is just not for Christmas. You can give this gift year-round on any gift-giving occasion. You can use any fabric. Here I've utilized some of the quilted fabric that I bought at Joann Fabrics. I've even quilted on top of the fabric, making a free motion quilt design on it. The ideas are endless on this one. But in today's tutorial, I'm going to share with you the measurements and show you how to make a gift card magical drawstring bag. You will be able to whip these out in no time. Enough talking already. Let the magic begin. Here I used 3 different fabrics to make my magical drawstring bag. Those are the measurements in the top left-hand corner for the bag that I'm going to make and show you today. Just for reference, the floral piece of fabric is the base of the bag, the plaid is the top ruffle, and the white piece is the casing for the drawstring. You will also need 2 tiny pieces of heat bond and a drawstring or a ribbon to cinch your bag. If you haven't ironed your fabric yet, go ahead and give it a really good hot press. Next, go ahead and take the top ruffle piece, fold it in half long ways, just like you see me do here, and then you're going to put a nice crease right in that piece of fabric. You should have a piece that looks just like this, nice and creased. Next, you're going to take that white casing piece for the drawstring, lay it down, and just like the other piece, fold it right in half long ways, and then you're going to go ahead and put a nice hot pressed crease right in that fabric. After the creasing, go ahead and open that white piece back up, and on both ends you are going to make like a little hem type. You're going to fold it up twice, about 1/4 of an inch, and then you're going to go ahead and give it a press. And after this, you're going to grab your tiny piece of heat bond, and then you're going to open that little crease back up, that little tiny hem, lay the heat bond in there, fold it up in there, and then you're going to give it a hot press. Now that heat will make that heat bond act like glue, and it'll be like a hem without stitching. Now if you don't have heat bond, no worries. Go ahead and put a small stitch right in that hem. Now after the heat bond is in, go ahead and fold that back to that original crease and put some heat on it again. And now you're going to do that to both sides of that white drawstring casing piece. Next, we are going to layer everything together. Go ahead and open up that ruffle piece with right side up. Then you're going to grab the casing piece, well still folded. Go ahead and line it up nice and straight in the middle of that ruffled piece so that you can still see on the sides of that white casing. Next, I'm going to take the base of my drawstring bag, which is that floral piece, and I'm going to lay right side down, so the wrong side will be facing up toward me. But I'm going to take that one edge and I'm going to line up all the raw edges with the ruffle, the white casing, and then my base of my bag. Once I get that all lined up perfectly, I'm going to add a couple clips in. This is what it should look like so far. Everything is nice and sandwiched in there together with that casing in the center. The next step is to grab the base of the bag though. Now only grab the base of the bag, that floral piece, and you're just going to roll it up just about as far as you see me do here. You want to stay away from that edge a little bit because that's where the stitching is going to be. And then once that base is rolled up, you're going to grab that under piece, which is the ruffle, lift that up to meet the other raw edges. Where I have it clipped there, unclip and then reclip all of them together. I do add an extra clip right in the middle just to be sure that nothing will shift during sewing. This is what it should look like just before we go to the sewing machine. That base is nice and rolled up in the center, and then we're going to take it to the sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance right along the edge there. Be sure to do a back stitch to lock those stitches in at the beginning and at the end of your tube. What makes this magical drawstring bag so versatile is that you can make any size you want. Whatever size gift you have, no problem, no worries. Just adjust the measurements and you will have a bag that custom fits your gift. This is what you should have so far, just a straight stitch, 1/4 inch, just along that raw edge there. Now it's time to expose all of this magic. We're going to turn this right side out. Go ahead and grab that floral base part, just like you see me do here, and just tug on it very gently and pull it out until everything is out. It will probably look a bit wrinkled, but we'll take care of that here in a bit. This is what it should look like. No exposed seams where the casing and the ruffle and the base all meet up. Perfect. Next, we're going to take it over to the ironing board and we're going to give this a good hot press and make sure that everything looks nice and neat. I want you to take note of the casing area, how it just is sort of hinged within those seams. See that, how it's not tacked down? So we're going to go ahead and tack that to the base of our bag because we don't want that flopping. We want that to be nice and stable. So you're just going to take it over to the sewing machine and just a tiny stitch right along the edge there. I actually did make my first bags without tacking that area down, and it just didn't lay well enough for me on the bag with the drawstring in it, so that's why I chose to go ahead and tack that down. I do think that that looks the best. So this is what you should have now, a nice casing area so that your drawstring can go right in and be able to cinch your bag. And it's way out of the seam allowance area, so that way there's no chance of catching that in the seam. Our next step is to utilize a French seam along the side and the bottom of our drawstring bag. So with everything that goes against sewing, you're going to put wrong sides together. Go ahead and put a couple clips in there, and then you're going to sew a scant 1/8 of an inch right along the side and the bottom of this bag. The tip I would give you here is to be sure that you are catching both the front and the back within those stitches, because if you don't, you will have a hole. And then you'll have to unpick the whole thing and re-sew the whole thing again. So it's best just to make sure that you catch both sides. You should have something that looks just like this. The next step is to go ahead and trim off any excess threads that you see, and also I'm going to cut into that seam allowance, getting close as I can to the threads but without clipping the threads. This will help me when I turn it inside out and sew the next seam. Now we're going to turn it inside out. Here I do utilize a pokey tool to make sure that I get the corners in the bottom of the bag nice and sharp toward the ends. You could iron it at this point, but here I just finger pressed along all of the edges. And now what I'm going to do next, along that same side and bottom, I'm going to encase about a 1/4 inch seam allowance that entire seam area, down and across. Remember how we trimmed the seam allowance just prior to this step? This is why trimming that helps to sew it, to make sure that all of the strays, threads and such are encased within that seam allowance so that we do not see them. I do love a French seam. French seams are hidden and you can't see any stray strands of thread or anything. It's just a perfect seam to hide all of that. In the next step, we're going to turn it right side out, and you can also utilize the pokey tool to get the corners nice and sharp in this step as well. Here I want you to notice just how clean and sharp everything looks. There are no exposed seams whatsoever. That is the beauty of the magic drawstring bag for sure. Next, we are going to take it over to our ironing board and we're going to press our seams out nice and flat with our fingers, kind of rolling them out so you don't get any excess fabric in there as you iron, and just give it a good hot press in all directions so that everything looks nice and pressed. Our next step is to insert our drawstring into the casing. Here I'm just utilizing a weaving tool and I'm just putting just like if it was thread or whatnot, and you just weave it through to the other side and pull the string out. Now, in order to cinch your drawstring bag so that you have a nice ruffle on top, is to just pull the strings taut and go ahead and just tie a bow just like you normally would. Here you can decide whether or not you'd like to leave long tails on your bow or if you'd like a shorter tail on the bow and just cut off the excess. The magical drawstring bag that I made today fits a gift card perfectly. These magical drawstring bags are so easy to make. I mean, think about it. Who doesn't love a 2-in-1 gift? First you have the gift card and then you have the reusable drawstring bag that they can use for anything. After you make your very first magical drawstring bag, you will totally get the hang of it. It is so easy. You will want to make a ton of them for any time of the year, for any gift-giving occasion. I sure do hope you enjoyed my video tutorial today on the magical drawstring gift bag. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.